Okay, well, welcome everyone to game week, huh? I know everybody is excited across this country about college football returning, and certainly no more than this Troy fan base and our staff and players here. So, number one, I just want to always say how humbled and honored I am to be here and be the head coach. We're excited to be a part of this. I'm excited for our players and our staff. After a long, long preparation from January to now, it's amazing the work that goes into making all this go, from administration to our trainers, managers, and all of our staff. To just get to this point, to get to the start line, so to speak, is pretty daunting when you see all that exists. Could be more proud of our staff and our players for their preparation in fall camp, especially. It's a hard time. It's a very physical camp that we ran, but we also treated our players in such a way that allowed them to rest and recover and be able to give energy back to each practice. And now we sit here a week away and ready to go into a game week. So I'm very excited to see our staff prepare and our players prepare for what is the true test. And with that, I'll leave it open to questions as we get into this. Thank you all.
Hey, Coach Davis Fager, WSFA in Montgomery. How much does it help to already have a full game of film on Nevada going into this weekend?
Yeah, there's been a couple people bring it up. Of course, with anything, there's pluses and minuses to it all. For the pluses for us, I think it is really good that we get to see a true sense of who they are. There's always scheme changes and things that'll happen throughout a week as they prepare for us, I'm sure. But more than anything, we do get to see who they are by their personnel and what they're about in all three phases. And they'll, of course, go to work on being able to do what many believe you can. And from game one to game two, there's many things that can happen really well from playing a game. So we've got to make sure we're able to combat that and be ready to play in game one. But it is good to see their personnel.
Hey, Gerald. Jared, this is John Johnson from Dothan Eagle. Just curious on Gerald Green, what he's done during the preseason to earn that number one spot at running back.
Yeah, I think more than anything, as I've said about Goose and other positions, I think it's always production based. As long as we make decisions on that, it's certainly something that each player on our team can look at us as coaches and know that we're being fair and truthful about why decisions are made when it comes to playing time. So it is production based. He's been a great decision maker. He's done a really good job in pass protection and in his run game to get to that point. He plays with high effort. He's a great teammate. It's going to be a committee thing. I think all those running backs know their value and know that we're going to see all of them. But when you make a decision like that to name a starter and put him first, I think it's all about his production and effort in fall camp that's put him in a position to be listed first.
Hey, Coach Lindsey Bonner from WAKA in Montgomery. We spoke at Media Days, and you said that you were excited for the media and fans to see some of the emerging stars on this Troy team this year. After going through fall camp, who maybe are some of those names that you've seen?
Yeah, I think, it's when you use the word emerging, I think that some people would mistake that for meaning new roster ads. I think you're going to see some guys really step out of themselves and become great players here that were on this roster, and I think that starts on offense with our quarterback in Goose Crowder, and at wideout Devontae Ross, and at tight end Ethan Connor. Those guys are names that many of our Troy fan base know, and I think those will be where it starts. And then you go to Jordan Lovett, of course, that we feel strongly about, and Damian Taylor. I could go up and down. And of course, Daniel King and Eli Russ lead us up front. So there's a lot of things to talk about on offense of who will emerge, but we have some new wideouts that you're going to learn names of in Mojo Dortch and Roman Mothershed and Landon Parker to emerge. All those names have to do that for us to get where we want to go. On defense, those names, again, are very similar. You have guys in Phillip Lee and Jordan Stringer, Damaj Yancey, LJ. Those guys all have been here. And then you're going to get, some new names in B-Jack and Jamal Williams and guys that we've added to this big Jamel inside. And I could go on and on, I think. And then, of course, in special teams, Scott De La Renfro and Will and those guys that have been here a while are going to get a chance to prove themselves as well. So I think emergence is kind of used in both directions here. We've added to our roster, and there'll be new names, but I think there's some names that have been a part of this roster in the past that are also going to take huge jumps in becoming great players here.
Hey, Coach Parker, this is Rosie Langello at WSFA. You were just talking about the Nevada team. I'm just curious, what have you seen from this team so far? What are the challenges that they do present to your team?
Well, they've made it's really the same narrative for them. They have a new head coach, they have a new coaching staff, they have, I believe, 56 new players on their roster. All that sounds pretty familiar. So they've dealt with the same things we have. First and foremost, I think second, you could see a change in their culture and their personnel when you turned on the film and watched them play on Saturday night. So a tip of the hat to Coach Choate and his staff. You can see a huge change in all three phases. It's going to be a huge challenge for us in what they do defensively and who they've added in their edge rushers piece, and especially at corner when they come up to challenge you. I think on offense, anytime you add a component of a quarterback player who takes care of the football and is a really good runner in space and can do that well, that gives you major problems. And their kicking game is really well, and they do a lot to make you prepare there. So they've done a fine job in preparing a team and a new roster that's put them in a position to where they're going to be able to win games and be in games.
And this is Rosie again. I don't think I asked you this during fall camp. Just how has the helmet communication been going for you guys?
It's good. I think it's the new era of college football, and you saw a lot of people this past weekend with their hands over top their ears, making sure they could hear. So I think anytime you're dealing with that, there's going to be kinks. We've used them early and often, as quick as we could, to get used to practicing playing the game as much as we could. That's been something we've done. I hope since I've been here and taken the job, we've tried to do everything we can to emphasize that we are trying to make this as close to a game as possible. So in-game communication and headsets has been a part of that. That's gone very smooth for both sides of the ball, but we haven't done the game yet. But it has gone smooth, and that's a testament to our equipment staff and all that it takes to make sure those things are working well during scrimmages and practice.
Hey, Coach, Shannon Kelly with Nevada Sportsnet in Reno. Just after watching the game, how do you feel like, having seen Nevada now playing a full game may give you guys a slight advantage potentially, or just how do you feel like that helps knowing that you've seen this Nevada team on film versus what the Nevada team was the past two seasons?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've covered them well, and I think you all would probably be very pleased with the product that Coach Choate put out on the field and his staff the other night. So it really is a tip of the hat to them. You can tell exactly there are a lot of people in this college setting right now that are having to flip rosters to the level and the amount that he has and staff and all that's new. And I just thought for them, they put themselves in a very good situation with some changes in personnel and just being efficient. You can tell they played complementary football through all three phases, especially with the offense. They played, at a pace to make sure that they played and kept some possessions away from SMU, which I thought was a great effort and plan by them going in. The running quarterback piece and the playmaking ability they have outside really showed up. And then, of course, who they can hand it to in running back. So that personnel certainly stuck out to me. I think the same thing on defense as far as who they are and how they challenge you at corner and their length and creating turnovers and pass rush. So not to get too lengthy, I think it's the only advantage we have is we probably know a little bit more about their personnel than they do of us. Otherwise, there's a lot to be said about getting to play a game, which I've already said a couple times today. I think that there is a lot to be said about going out and playing and working some things through, and we're going to have to make sure we hopefully skip a step and get there in game one against them. But it's certainly, you notice very quickly that they've changed personnel, and this is going to be a formidable opponent we're going to line up against here on Saturday night.
Just how excited are you to be able to put the headset on and to lead this Troy program out for the first time?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird deal. Every time you dream of becoming a head coach, I think when you first do it, you think about yourself the whole time. And now I sit here at 43 with a little gray in my beard, and it's not about me as much. It's my job to do this thing to where everybody's happy after games. So I'm really excited for our players and our staff. This is the reward. Our players do a lot and give up a lot to get in a position to play 12 days. That's it, guaranteed. So I'm really excited for our players, our fan base, and our coaches to hopefully be rewarded for a lot of work that everyone puts in. So I'm excited. I really am, but you don't get many highs in this profession, in this leadership role. So I just try to see it through their eyes and celebrate hopefully a lot of success and see them play well in all their prep.
Hey, Coach Lindsay again. As you're getting ready to run out on the field for the first time as the head coach of the Trojans, what kind of statement are you hoping to make to the college football world?
It's a good question. Here's what I hope. I hope our football team does what our 3 performance standards are. I think you better see a football team at Troy that attacks the ball on offense and disrupts it on defense. We better sustain blocks very well on offense and special teams, and we better defeat blocks very well on defense and special teams. And the last one we always talk about is our effort and our physicality. Those are the 3 measures that I'll use to measure us every Sunday morning and Saturday night when I'm up watching us after we've played, and our players and staff know that. That's the 3 areas we better be great in for us to get where we want to go. The percentages of red zone and third down and all those things count, but we know this. If turnover margin is managed well and we win that, if we sustain and defeat blocks pretty well, and if we play really hard and physical, good things will happen. And that's the way Troy has played in its past, and it's certainly something we want people to notice when they watch us now.
Hey, Gerad, this is John in Dothan again. Will the coordinators be on the sidelines or in the box?
Good question. I'll give. I guess it's fine now. They'll both be on the field. So both offense and defense coordinators will be on the field, calling football game from there.
Coach Davis Baker again. Is there any different advice that you give to a guy like Deuce Crowder making his first start? I know you've worked with many quarterbacks over the years. Is there anything different that you tell him just making that first start?
No. I think, the truth lies in the work. It's a creed that we use around here very often, and it's stuck with me since my time at Duke with David Cutcliffe and Daniel Jones. And I think when you rely on those things, you won't get lost in a lot of narratives and notifications that our world gets lost in. He's prepared himself to be a great player. He's got to study the game plan, and there's a lot of things that go out there about the quarterback position because they have to carry so much. But I think for us, one of the best pieces of advice I ever heard got told to a quarterback was there's 3 rules, right? You got to prepare, know that and then you got to go play. That's the 3, and we'll use that often with our team and him, and let them play free and empowered and go do it.
Anybody else? Rosie, I thought you had one more you wanted to ask.
Oh, you mean about it can only be Gerad?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought it was
On
clever.
your pronunciation guide, I don't know if you saw what Adam put, because a lot of people pronounce your name Gerard Parker, and I told you I covered you at Penn State, and people would still say it up there as Gerard Parker. So Adam put on your pronunciation guide, it can only be Gerad, and people are just loving it.
Well,
so.
listen, hey, this is the first. It's brilliant. I saw it and I'm like, well, there you go, because it still gets butchered everywhere I've been. So I'm glad maybe this helps clear it up.
Are you an expert in diamonds? I'm sorry, someone told me to ask you.
Yeah, listen, you better call Candy Parker on that one.